The 2024 NFL Draft is just around the corner, and as we get closer to the first round, the speculation only continues to ramp up. And until the draft actually begins and the draft cards start to get turned in, our questions and speculation will only continue to increase. Of course, here at the Sports Ball Network, we also have our fair share of speculation and predictions to make regarding the 2024 NFL Draft. And in this video, we'll do just that as we go over our 5 boldest predictions for the upcoming 2024 NFL Draft. Kicking things off on our list, our first bold prediction for the draft is that on night one, at least 8 wide receivers, yes, 8, will be taken in the first round. Now, that might sound crazy. After all, that's a quarter of the picks in the first round. But with teams like Arizona, Buffalo, Kansas City, Jacksonville, and the Giants all needing a lot of wide receiver help, it's not impossible to think that they would prioritize getting some help in the draft with their first round pick. And if you look at the talent coming out of college this year at the wide receiver position and entering the NFL, it suddenly starts to make sense why we would predict something like this. Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, Roma Dunze out of Washington, and Malik Neighbors out of LSU are all considered top 10 prospects in the draft this year and have all seen mock drafts where they've gone within the top 5 to 6 picks. Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, Lad McConkey out of Georgia, and Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU are also seen as virtual first round locks. That's already 6 wide receivers. So to say that 2 more could possibly be picked in the first round isn't as big of a stretch as it might seem. Guys like Xavier Legette out of South Carolina, Troy Franklin out of Oregon, Roman Wilson out of Michigan, Theon Coleman out of Florida State, and Xavier Worthy out of Texas have also seen first round consideration. So while it might be a stretch to say that 8 wide receivers could be picked in the first round of this year's draft, it's not impossible to envision. The second prediction of this video involves the guys throwing the balls to the wide receivers in this year's NFL draft. That's right, we're talking quarterbacks. And our second bold prediction for this video is that 6 of them will be taken in the first round, including J.J. McCarthy, who will be a top 5 pick. That's a lot of quarterbacks to be taken in the first round. And usually in any given year, there's 2 to 3 that are picked in the first round. Of course, this year's quarterback class is unique. It's considered one of the more talented groups to come out in recent years. And combined with the lack of quarterbacks in the NFL right now, you have a perfect recipe for 6 of them to be taken in the first round. Guys like Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels are seemingly locks to go in the first round already. And to be honest, locks to go with the first 3 picks, as the Chicago Bears, Washington Commanders, and New England Patriots are all very quarterback needy. In addition, with teams like the Vikings, the Broncos, the Raiders, perhaps even the Giants drafting later on that have a need for quarterback, it wouldn't be too surprising to see them take a shot on a guy like Michael Penix, Bo Nix, or J.J. McCarthy. Actually, on Michael Penix, I like him a lot. And to be honest, he's my second-ranked quarterback in this class. He has a really nice spiral. He has a great arm. And I think he sees the field really well. But I digress. Let's talk about the second part of this bold prediction, that J.J. McCarthy will go in the top 5. Now, if you ask me personally, I'm not a huge fan of J.J. McCarthy's film. He actually reminds me a lot of Mac Jones when he was in college. And similarly to Mac Jones, the speculation surrounding where J.J. McCarthy could go has kind of gone off the rails. Remember in the 2021 draft when a lot of people thought Mac Jones would go number 3 to the San Francisco 49ers? Well, we've actually seen something very similar happening with JJ McCarthy and the speculation surrounding him. Now, people are talking as if he could go number 2 overall to Washington. Now, while I don't think that's going to happen, I definitely could envision a team like the Giants or the Vikings trading up to get JJ McCarthy if they fall in love with him. But I'm not sure if JJ McCarthy is the type of quarterback that you would do that for. Of course, my evaluation could be off, and JJ McCarthy might be the next Tom Brady. Certainly, an NFL GM could think so, and as a result, would be motivated to trade into the top 5 to go and get him. Specifically, I'd watch out for the Vikings on this. They have 2 first-round picks, and if they wanted to, they absolutely could throw that draft capital around to get up and grab their guy. Let's take a break talking about offense here for a second and turn our attention towards the defensive side of the ball. In this year's draft, there are some really talented guys coming out on the defensive side, such as Dallas Turner and Terran Arnold out of Alabama, and Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. But if you look at a lot of the mock drafts online and if you watch the tape, none of these guys stand out as like a true top 5 pick. In fact, in most of the mock drafts I've seen, Alabama's Dallas Turner is the only player to consistently be selected within the top 10 picks. Which leads us to the third bold prediction of this video, that none of the defensive players in this draft will be selected within the top 15 picks. As the NFL increasingly focuses more on offense, it's going to naturally prioritize positions on that side of the ball. And with so much talent on the offensive side of the ball, particularly in terms of wide receiver, quarterback, and O line talent, I can see a world in which a lot of teams want to prioritize grabbing those top guys before then turning their attention towards getting the top defenders still remaining on the board. Of course, I'm not saying that no defenders are going to be taken in the first round. That would be silly. Guys like Dallas Turner, Terran Arnold, and Cooper DeJean absolutely deserve to be first round picks. But what I am saying is that there are no generational defensive talents like a Nick Bosa or an Aiden Hutchinson in this year's class. Again, there are really, really good defenders in this class, and I could easily see a couple of them go within the top 10. But this is a bold predictions video, and I could just as easily see none of them go within the top 15, given that there's no truly generational players and given that the NFL is increasingly now focused on offense. Our second to last prediction in this video involves the running back position, which is generally viewed as one of the weaker positional groups in this year's draft. In fact, this running back class coming into the 2024 draft is viewed as one of the weakest running back groups in the past decade. And based on the film and tape that I've watched, I can't really disagree with that assessment. Just to give you all some context, the guy who I have rated as the best running back in this class, Trey Benson, compares similarly to a guy like James Cook out of college, who was generally viewed as the third best running back in his class, and who was a guy who ended up as a late second round pick in his draft class. Because of this, I'm predicting that there are no running backs taken in not only the first round of the NFL draft, but in the second round as well. The running backs are generally considered weaker in the class, and given that teams were more willing to hand out contracts to veterans like Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, and of course, stars like Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, it seems like the NFL as well tends to view this class as one of the weaker ones, and as a result, is not going to look to invest premium draft capital into the class. That's not saying that no teams are going to invest a day 2 pick into the running backs. Guys like Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks, I think, are great selections in the third round. But the top end talent of this class is not the same as a class like last year's or the year before. And as a result, there's no real guy who you would say would be taken in the first round. Couple that with the general devaluation of the position in the NFL marketplace, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to see an outcome in which teams aren't willing to invest a premium second round pick into one of these backs either. Our final bold prediction of this video relates to a team making a trade in the draft, but it might not be the team or the trade that you would think of. We're predicting that the Carolina Panthers will actually look to trade back into the first round. Carolina last year traded a boatload of assets in order to get the rights to pick Bryce Young with the number one overall pick, trading 2 first rounders and DJ Moore, among other assets, to Chicago to do so. Of course, their first rounder that they traded this year ended up being the first overall pick. And generally, the deal seen as pretty bad for Carolina, especially taking into account that Bryce Young struggled his rookie year. Of course, Carolina's 2023 struggles cannot be placed solely on their rookie quarterback, who had little support, as anything that could have possibly gone wrong for the franchise did. But looking at 2024, there is some reason for optimism in Carolina, as they have made several smart free agent signings and trades, including bringing in Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh. Still, it's not enough. And if you look at the rosters in the NFL right now, Carolina's definitely needs a lot of help. And if I were Carolina's GM, I'd certainly be feeling a ton of pressure to right the ship here and bring in more young talent to help my rookie quarterback as he continues to develop and to continue to grow the team into a competitive one in the NFC South. So I'm going to predict that Carolina is going to make a move on draft day to try and get back into the first round to select one of the top prospects. Of course, I don't know what assets Carolina is going to use in order to make such a move, but I am not an NFL GM. And if there is a will, there is most certainly a way to get things done. So, there you have it. 5 bold predictions for the upcoming 2024 NFL draft. It's going to be very interesting to watch the NFL draft unfold over 3 days. And personally, I'm pretty excited to see how many of these I get right. In addition, I'm also really interested to see where some of these top prospects go and where some of my personal sleepers in the NFL draft end up landing. But that's just me. As for you, the viewer, it'd be great if you left a comment on the video letting us know your thoughts on our predictions, as well as some predictions for the NFL draft of your own. In addition to that, if you liked what you saw, please be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel to watch more of our content, and as always, we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.